Hello and welcome to Brainwaves episode 151, bringing you the best in tabletop gaming news. I'm Ian McAllister.
And my name is Oliver Kinner. And these are the headlines for the week of Monday the 7th of October 2024. Wizards of the Coast commandeers a format. Zenobia Awards announces finalist. CMON misplaces Chief Operating Officer. All this and more on this episode of Brainwaves.
Magic the Gathering, the collectible card game that sees players as battling planeswalkers, has many different formats in which you can play the game. One of these is called Commander, a popular version effectively seen as a casual format for the game. It doesn't have the same card restrictions that competitive play has, where cards are frequently cycled out to make room for new expansions. Decks can be up to 99 cards, but you're only allowed one copy of a given card in your deck, apart from the basic lands that power the economy of the game. Commander is often played multiplayer, whereas regular Magic is a two-player duel. Since 2011, Wizards of the Coast, the publishers of Magic, has produced products to support the format. However, the actual rules for this format of the game are managed by a rules committee made up of passionate players and some Magic judges. Becoming a Magic judge is quite difficult and does require folk to sit tests. There is also a Commander advisory group that has no say in the rules, but offers advice and feedback. Recently, the rules committee issued a new banned restricted list, and the reaction has been unexpected, as putting it mildly. Amongst the cards banned were three expensive cards: Mana Crypt, Dockside Extortionist, and Jeweled Lotus. Each of these cards sells for $80 plus. For many, they were seen as poisonous to the format, as they were so powerful that if you were playing competitive Commander, you had to play them or play around them. However, a vocal minority were angry that cards they'd spent a lot of money on were suddenly banned. Things quickly got out of hand as both the rules committee and the advisory group started to receive death threats. Considering that members of both these groups frequently show up at tournaments and other public events, this was a worrying situation for all of them. Several of the vocal minority threatening the committees were urging each other to confront the members in person at events. Olivia Gobert-Hicks, the only woman on the rules committee, got the lion's share of the abuse. It was revealed shortly after the banning announcement that Olivia was the only committee member who had voted against the changes. On the 30th of September, this led to Wizards of the Coast posting an announcement called On the Future of Commander, which begins like this.
The past week has been tumultuous for Commander fans, members of the Commander Rules Committee, and the Magic community as a whole. Along the way, we've seen players and fans share a diverse range of passionate opinions, far too many of which were harmful or malicious. Below, and over the next few days and weeks, we will be discussing quite a bit about Commander, starting with the most pressing. Over the past week, the conversation has escalated, culminating with unacceptable personal threats to the safety of members of the Commander Rules Committee. This is something we will not tolerate. No matter how you feel about something in Magic, it is never appropriate to threaten somebody. Everyone at Wizards of the Coast is united on this front. We will not hesitate to take action against individuals who threaten to harm community members or employees. This week has also demonstrated the truly monumental task that faced the Commander Rules Committee. The Commander RC is made up of 5 talented, caring individuals, all with other jobs and lives which they must balance with managing the most popular format of Magic. It results in incredible amounts of work, time spent deliberating, and exposure to the public. Nobody deserves to feel unsafe for supporting the game they love. Unfortunately, the task of managing Commander has far outgrown the scope and safety of being attached to any 5 people. So today, in partnership with members of the existing Rules Committee, we are announcing that the Rules Committee is giving management of the Commander format to the game design team of Wizards of the Coast.
In that post, Wizards of the Coast go on to say they are still working with members of both committees during this transition and are looking at ways to think about the different power levels in decks. This, of course, opens the possibility of unbanning cards. They say this about banning.
We will also be evaluating the current banned card list alongside both the Commander Rules Committee and the community. We will not ban additional cards as part of this evaluation. While discussion of the banned list started this, immediate changes to the list are not our priority.
One of the Rules Committee, Jim Lepage, posted this in response to the decision.
What's become clear to me is that fulfilling my commitments requires a level of global connectedness, proactive and reactive communication, research, and skill beyond what I'm capable of providing. I don't think it's possible for a group of part-time volunteers to rise to this task. Beyond that, my inability to protect myself and the people I care about casts this whole situation in a different light. This part needs to be dealt with immediately, and I need to acknowledge that I'm not the right person to deliver on those commitments. The best chance I have of honoring Sheldon Menery's legacy is to hand the keys over to people who are more capable and better resourced.
Sheldon Menery, mentioned there, was the original creator of the Commander format who died last year. Thanks very much to Craig from our Discord who brought this story to our attention.
What's going on there?
I hope this, I have no idea what's going on here, but I hope this is the result that the people who sent death threats to basically the same members of their community wanted, because now Wizards own this format. Yes, they've been supporting it for a long time, but there's a very different feel to a community-led sort of approach and a corporation-led approach. Those two things are extremely different. And I've seen it with something like Netrunner, which used to be owned by Fantasy Flight Games and is now in community hands. And the game feels quite different. And the sort of communication feels different. And the sort of emphasis feels different as well. So maybe they get what they want. I don't know. But
it's just outrageous. I mean, with anything, whether it's whatever it is in life, you don't do death threats. You might be really upset about something, we don't go that to those lengths. What's going on?
Yeah, and let's not forget that Commander is effectively a casual format, basically, of the game. I mean, yes, there are Commander tournaments, and it's a very popular format of the game, but I feel like spending huge amounts of money on it. Because if you're a pro Magic player, then spending a lot of money on decks is just part and parcel of that tournament scene. But to spend a lot of money on a casual format and then get upset about it seems quite strange.
Outrageous. Yeah,
it is outrageous, absolutely outrageous. I hope that no one listening to this cast has sent death threats to the community, but if you have, then please stop listening to the cast. Go away. Anyway, Oliver, some more upbeat news from the Zenobia Awards.
Yes, the Zenobia Award, which is now in its second year, has announced the finalists. The award aims to attract diverse design talent and to diversify historical topics covered in our hobby. The award is limited to contestants from underrepresented groups with ideas for tabletop game designs about human history. Games entered must be new, unpublished games, but can be at different stages of development and from designers with different levels of experience. Now, this year's finalists are the following. It's quite a long list, but I'll pick out, I'll try and keep it short anyway, but I think it's worth mentioning them all. Aegir by Annabelle Journey, a game about Don Loeb, the madman, de Aegir, his Eldorado expedition where members of the group must survive the dangers of the Amazon jungle and Aegir's growing paranoia. House of Wisdom by Fagner Lima da Silva, which is set in Abbasid Baghdad, a historical center for scholars, which is visited by caravans from across the world looking for books for the libraries. Malacca, the Forgotten Empire by Effendi Norzaman, which is about the Malay Sultanate of Malacca, where you play loyal nobles who outsmart each other to build Malacca and expand its supremacy. Obrage by Diego Javier-Luis, a game about colonial Mexico's infamous textile mills in which enslaved people confined to brutal labor confront moral dilemmas as they seek freedom. An Outstretched Hand by Max Bentovim, which is set during Russia's annexation of Poland and Lithuania, where the state, nobles, and various movements seek different fates for the huge Jewish population. The Porters by Lucas Cockburn, Nico Cockburn, and Alex Goss, a game about Canadian railways in which an informal brotherhood of black porters tries to overcome racism. The Pursuit of Aguinaldo by Nicanor Marco P. Valdez is about how the Philippine president evades capture by US forces in Luzon, while his outgunned army mounts a defensive campaign. Sabotage the Raj by Mohit Patel, Akanksha Patel and Chirag Parakash Arora, which is set in colonial Bengal, where secret revolutionaries plot against the British. Silencio by Luis M. Salas, a game set some years after Mexican community had suffered a terrible wave of violence, when a journalist investigates what happened, hoping to interview the victim and also avoid harm. Congratulations to all the finalists. I wanted to read out the full list because you can see how varied this award is. All the finalists, so many different topics from history, and it's always wonderful to see. There's history in there that probably some of us haven't even heard about before, but obviously important events, and I love to see what these games play like. So always a great award to see and keep an eye on.
Yeah, absolutely. Molly House, which was one of the finalists from last year's, but not the winner, is about to come out from Whirligig Games, if I remember rightly. I think they're exhibiting at Essen just now. So it's a really interesting award, trying to do something interesting with historical games and attract a more diverse designer group and diverse topics. It's really good. We love the Zenobia Awards.
Yeah, and I think they're also trying to support designers. So if you're new and you're very inexperienced, it says all the levels of experience, you will get some mentoring and support from the awards team as well. So please, obviously at the moment it's too late, but when it starts again, do apply. It's always great to see. Now, speaking of applying for things, Ian?
Yes, board game news website Board Game Wire reported on the 19th of September that David Petrie, Chief Operating Officer of miniatures-focused board game publisher Cool Mini or Not, or CMON as it's more commonly known, is resigning from the role. Cool Mini or Not is known for games such as Rising Sun, Bloodborne the board game, and Zombicide. As an experienced game designer, Petrie was primarily responsible for developing ideas for new games and the overall business development of CMON. As Chief Operating Officer, Petrie also oversaw sales, crowdfunding, marketing, and logistics for global operations. Petrie joined CMON as Creative Director in July 2016 and was promoted to Chief Operating Officer in December 2018. Their resignation will become effective on the 9th of March 2025, and in a statement to the Hong Kong Stock Exchange, where CMON is listed, the company said that Petrie will become a non-executive director immediately, moving him away from the day-to-day management of the business. CMON's statement also said,
"The board would like to express its gratitude to Mr. Petrie for his contributions during his tenure as an executive director and the chief operating officer of the company, and welcome to Mr. Petrie in his new role as a non-executive director."
Yeah, so they're moving him to non-executive director, basically just like being on the board in an advisory role. Maybe he's moving on to something else. Maybe they're rearranging chairs in the Titanic. I know we've reported on CMON recently and its sort of drop in profits and its struggles on the crowdfunding market. I mean, no doubt there'll be another big CMON crowdfunding campaign along in 5 seconds or so, because that's their model.
That's how it works.
Well, we'll certainly be keeping an eye on that company as it seems to be in a state of flux at the moment.
Yeah, that's true. Well, as you say, keep an eye on it, and we'll report once we hear more.
Now, on to a little update before we move to the news.
We've reported a few times on the efforts by employees of a string of New York board game cafes to get better worker rights through the recognition of their union. The management of the Brooklyn strategist, John Freeman and Greg May, have been hiring lawyers to deny the union their demands and taken steps labeled as retaliatory disciplinary action by members of the union. This has included unilaterally changing established store policies and agreements, then disciplining members of the union for violating these new rules. The latest walkout by the union took place on the 28th of September, and it gained some attention from an elected official and the police. Councillor Shahana Hanif joined the protesters outside the Brooklyn strategist, saying this:
"With over 75% of staff supporting unionisation, it's time for management to stop playing games and start respecting their workers. As after-school service providers, these workers deliver essential programs that build critical thinking and social skills through games. Yet they receive little to no training. It's time management steps up with adequate training, pay, and job security."
The police had been called by the management of the cafe. On arrival, the 12 police officers, and this was not a large protest from the pictures we've seen, realized they couldn't really stop the walkout, and the protest ended without incident around 7:30 Eastern Time. The union is currently balloting on strike action across the stores that Freeman and May own. A hardship fund has been set up for the employees and a boycott is being signed by supportive customers. We will include links to those in our show notes. Now, Rascal has been reporting the story from the beginning, and obviously, as one of those few independent outlets, we urge you to go and check out their work and support them if you can. I don't know enough about sort of the details of it, but yeah, I think it's quite clear to see it's yet another attempt to stop unions working around things and finding reasons why they stop workers get what they deserve. I mean, I don't know how to phrase it really.
It's been ongoing for a while. The management are obviously choosing to spend their money on expensive lawyers rather than, just giving the workers a wage rise or better conditions, that kind of thing that would actually just resolve the situation properly. Now, this Rascal is a pay-for news site. I am a subscriber myself. This article, though, that we're reporting on is one of their free ones, so we felt it was okay to report on. And do go and give them a share and a like, and maybe support them if you can as well, because they're doing some absolutely excellent journalistic work right now.
Yeah, please do. Please do. And now on to the news.
Yes, we're going to stick with unions for a moment. TCG Player, the company responsible for authentication and valuing of trading cards from a wide variety of games, is alleging its parent company eBay isn't paying them fair wages. We have previously covered the efforts of the workers at TCG Player to form a union in episode 127. The union formed in March of 2023. This union is the first group at eBay to win union representation in the US, and they've been bargaining for their first union contract for over a year. A report published by the Communication Workers of America Union, which surveyed 54 authentication center workers, says that 87% of the non-managerial staff at the acquisition center in Syracuse, New York, sometimes handle packs of up to 14,000 cards in a single package. It also says that the average pay of $18.25 an hour is insulting for the specialized work they carry out, alongside the hourly wage being less than the living wage in Syracuse, New York for a single person without children. A representative for eBay told Polygon,
"When we began the bargaining process, we agreed with the CWA that we would address the non-economic components of the contract before discussing economic topics like wages. We have a handful of remaining non-economic proposals to agree upon before we move to economic discussions, which we expect to occur soon."
The representative also said eBay and the union
meet and bargain regularly.
I mean, that sounds like eBay dragging their feet to me.
Yeah. We won't talk about wages until we've addressed
some other
the non-economic things. Yeah. Like outfits. I don't know.
Just pay your workers and join your union if you can, folks.
Yes, please do.
And now on to a different kind of revolt.
Yes, Games Workshop, the UK company that makes popular tabletop miniature game Warhammer, has suffered a major shareholder revolt after handing millions in bonuses to its top bosses. Almost 21% of the votes went against the company's remuneration report, and nearly 27% against its remuneration policy at its annual general meeting on Wednesday, the 18th of September 2024. Games Workshop's chief executive, Kevin Roundtree, had been given a bonus worth 150% of his base salary. Roundtree has a total pay packet of £1.87 million, which is made up of £787,000 in fixed pay and the same amount linked to targets. Games Workshop's chief financial officer, Rachel Tong, stepped down from a role at the AGM and also received the same percentage bonus. The committee agreed to award both the CEO and CFO an annual increase in base salary of 7.4% from the 1st of January 2024. The AGM vote came after Games Workshop reported record results and that customers continue to spend on fantasy miniatures and Warhammer-related PC games. The company's revenue grew by 11.1% to £494.7 million for the 53 weeks that ended on the 2nd of June 2024. Core sales were up by 13.9% to £507.4 million. Its pre-tax profit also went up from £170.6 million to £203 million over the same 12 months. In a statement issued to the London Stock Exchange, where Games Workshop is listed, the company said,
The board notes that more than 20% of the votes cast on resolutions 10 and 11, the former of which is an advisory note, were against those resolutions. It takes the outcome of shareholder votes very seriously and will engage with shareholders to understand their views. In accordance with the UK Corporate Governance Code, the company will publish the outcome of this engagement in the next 6 months.
So basically, a lot of people voted against something, but there weren't enough to make that. And actually, it looks like the actual vote itself was advisory anyway. So, yeah, get out clause there for Games Workshop. We'll see what happens, but I do think they will take this, a little bit seriously at least. So, it's a large chunk of people voting there.
I mean, maybe it's just that the Games Workshop aren't paying dividends out enough, and that's what they're angry about, really, rather than the actual wage rises. Who knows? But yeah, we'll bring you more news on that if anything comes out of it.
Now, Ian, we've got another story about people not being happy.
Indeed, Cards Against Humanity, the company that makes the popular card game of the same name, has found itself up against one of the world's richest people. The company is suing Elon Musk for $15 million, accusing SpaceX of trespassing on and damaging land that Cards Against Humanity own. The land was originally bought back in 2017 after a crowdfunding campaign that Cards Against Humanity ran. It was bought in order to disrupt then-President Trump's attempt to build a border wall along the US-Mexico border. No wall was ever built there. The land is near SpaceX's operation known as Starbase. The lawsuit alleges that SpaceX has been using the land for staging operations without permission. The lawsuit states,
Cards Against Humanity acquired the property for the sole purpose of ensuring that it would stay that way. SpaceX's abuse of this property has not only destroyed its natural condition, but has also caused even greater harm to Cards Against Humanity by virtue of the damage it has caused to Cards Against Humanity's relationship with its paying supporters.
Cards Against Humanity have said that if they win the lawsuit, the original backers of the campaign to buy the land will get the money split between them. I mean, I've sort of forgotten the Cards Against Humanity was even a thing, but it's still in shops, certainly. You can still see it around. There's still new versions coming out. So, they're still making buck off that. I don't know if this feels more like publicity stunt than actual legal point, but yeah.
Probably, yeah.
It was quite funny when they went up against President Trump and did this. So, and Elon Musk definitely deserves, punched in the nose from time to time. So, yeah, let's see what happens.
Not that we condone violence, of course.
No. Metaphorically punched in the nose.
Yeah, of course. We know what you meant. Now I've got a story about the new Player's Handbook from Dungeons and Dragons. As reported on the 25th of September by ICV2, a website that provides news and information for geek culture retailers, Wizards of the Coast announced that their 2024 Player's Handbook has become the fastest-selling Dungeons and Dragons product ever. The 2024 Player's Handbook includes a number of improvements and was soft-launched at Gen Con 2024, with 3,000 copies sold at the show, making it the biggest product launch in the game's 50-year history. Also, Wizards of the Coast printed 3 times the number of the 2024 edition than they had of the 2014 edition. Jess Lanzillo, Vice President of D&D Product and Franchise at Wizards of the Coast, said about the handbook,
"We couldn't be more pleased with the resounding critical and fan acclaim and record-breaking launch of the 2024 Player's Handbook, and we have our loyal fans to thank for it. They played a major role in helping make this product what it is. Our team has been analysing feedback from players since the release of the 2014 Player's Handbook and have worked hard and thoughtfully to implement it into the new core rulebooks to create something that we hope everyone will enjoy."
Now we try to find some figures on...
Yeah, the actual figures of sales.
It says faster selling. I mean, I guess maybe they're talking about the soft launch selling out, and that was quicker than any of the other handbooks. I guess that's the only thing I can think about.
I mean, I imagine they're talking about sales out to retail as well in terms of what people are buying, and it certainly shows that D&D remains the sort of RPG juggernaut despite Wizards of the Coast's sort of problems over the last couple of years with AI and their parent company firing a bunch of people and all the sort of controversies they've been courting. People still love Dungeons and Dragons, and the sort of wider community that loves Dungeons and Dragons probably doesn't even know about a lot of that controversy. They just want the game.
Yeah, no, they have probably no idea.
Yep, that's just how it is. But if we do find some numbers, we'll bring them to you, folks.
Yeah. Speaking of controversies, Ian.
Big Bad Con is a convention that takes place in San Francisco every year in October. This year is going on over the 24th to 27th, though it almost lost a lot of panelists over a stance it took. On Twitter, an attendee going by Esther laid out the issues that had occurred in a long statement. It starts like this.
Esther was approached about being on a panel on Jewishness and TTRPGs. As part of the panel pitch, all panelists were asked to sign on to a statement opposing the genocide in Palestine that would be published in the panel description. The statement originally included the phrases anti-Zionist and from the river to the sea. For clarity, the Jewish panel organizer drafted the statement. All members of the panel agreed to and were comfortable with the statement.
Big Bad Con asked for the removal of anti-Zionist and the river to the sea in the event description. The latter is a phrase that refers to the area between the Jordan River and the Mediterranean Sea, or Palestine as we more commonly know it. The censorship was asked for to avoid conflict according to the convention. Over August, Esther and their friend Hamna made numerous attempts to contact Big Bad Con, eventually hearing from someone called Ash. After some emails back and forth with Ash, Nathan Black, one of the community coordinators of Big Bad Con, got in touch with Esther and Hamna. He said that the Big Bad Con was unwilling to speak publicly on Palestine, and the anti-Zionist language in the panel description was inflammatory. Big Bad Con had conducted a meeting about including pro-Palestinian language, but decided against it for fear of retaliatory actions. On Sunday, August 25th, Hamna and Esther responded to Nathan, stating their demands and that they would go public if Big Bad Con was unwilling to meet them. Those demands were: make a public value statement indicating that Big Bad Con is an anti-Zionist space. This statement cannot equivocate both sides, but rather must stand firmly for the decolonization of Palestine. Allow all events to include anti-Zionist language in their programming, including event descriptions. Commit to consulting with Palestinians, Arabs, Muslims, and anti-Zionist Jews within the TTRPG space to determine what actions the community would like to see from Big Bad Con in supporting them/us in 2025 and beyond. On September the 7th, Andy, another member of the community coordinators, responded to follow-up emails from Hamna and Esther, saying that Big Bad Con had a desire to change, but the timing would prevent changes coming in for this year. On September the 9th, Hamna and Esther called for a boycott of the convention and gained hundreds of signatures of people pledging to do just that. After much back and forth between the organisers and the boycotters, they eventually reached an agreement on the 29th of September. Esther posted this to Twitter.
Hey, #BigBadBoycott. Hamna and I are delighted to announce that @BigBadCon has met our collective demands and we will not be proceeding with the boycott at this time. Our full communication with the con can be found here.
And we'll put a link to the whole communication with the con in our show notes. Some groups are still pulling out of the convention, citing safety concerns and fearing the convention may have attracted attention from folk outside the hobby as a focus of bad actors on this matter. Thanks very much to Corey from our Discord for bringing this one to our attention. We're glad it's been resolved, for the most part anyway, to the satisfaction of both parties. And now on to a little awards news, Oliver, since Jamie's not here.
Yeah, I've put my awards hat on and my German hat as well. So Spiele Essen, the world's largest board game fair, which is happening as we're recording this, announced the 2024 winners of the Deutscher Spiele Preis, the largest community award in Germany, in a press conference held on Wednesday, the 2nd of October. The award is voted on by the general public and is divided into two categories. The Deutscher Spielepreis, which is given to family and adult games, and the Kinderspielpreis, which goes to children's games. Mischwald, or Forest Truffle, by Kosch from Lookout Spiele, won the Family and Adult Game Award, while the Children's Games Award went to Die magischen Schlüssel, The Magic Keys, by Markus Slavicek and Arno Steinwender from Game Factory and Happy Baobab. Congratulations to all the winners. So, yeah, I think we said that before. The Deutscher Spielepreis obviously is separate from Spiel des Jahres, but it sort of happens afterwards. It's voted on by the general public, so obviously they will have seen the Spiel des Jahres awards. So I guess what they're sort of voting on is influenced by that, so it's no surprise that you see games appearing in both. So, but yeah, it's great to see you have these both prizes happening and seeing a general public voted on award as well.
And a little bit more news out of Essen. In their October newsletter, Stonemaier Games, the publisher of board games such as Viticulture, Scythe, and Wingspan, announced the acquisition of the Tokaido brand from Funforge, a French board game publisher of titles such as Far Cry and Monumental. As we reported recently in episode 148, Funforge have been having fulfillment issues with its crowdfunding projects for some time. This included having to absorb up to $250,000 of extra costs. With the acquisition of the Tokaido brand, that game's future seems to be secure. As Funforge is a French company and Stonemaier Games is based in the United States, there was a fair amount of legal wrangling between the parties before they could sign the final agreement, meaning the acquisition process has taken a few months. Once everything was agreed, Stonemaier Games has started working on an Automa solo mode and began production of a Stonemaier branded version of the game. Stonemaier Games also mentioned that it plans to reprint Stonemaier branded versions of Tokaido Geo and Namiji, and are even looking at developing a new game in the series. In their newsletter, Stonemaier Games said,
"It's our honor to continue Tokaido's journey, and Funforge has been incredibly helpful. At Spiele, Stonemaier will have the last few copies of Tokaido Deluxe at their booth." Now, I think that's great news. I've got a copy of Namiji. I got it at the Kickstarter time. Still haven't played it, though. So I quite like this news.
I picked up Tokaido secondhand at Aircon earlier this year, and one of my friends had a copy of the deluxe edition, the collection edition of Tokaido at Tabletop Scotland that they just managed to pick up. Looks very, very nice. And yeah, it's good to see that game sort of secure its future. Whether that secures Funforge's future is another matter altogether. Funforge did hint that there was a deal coming that would let them fulfill Monumental. So it may be that this is part of that deal, or what is that deal? Maybe that's going to give them a bit of a cash injection to finally get Monumental Kickstarter out to backers. We'll certainly bring you updates on that as and if we hear them.
Now, on to our jobs, opportunities, and events. As always, we want to point you to the Facebook Board Game Jobs group at facebook.com/group/tabletopjobs. There's always something on there, always worth having a look. All sorts of jobs, UK, US, and I think other parts of Europe as well. So have a look. Also recently on Bluesky, if you're on that social media platform, there has been a list circulated of the Board Game People Starter Pack. We'll put a link, obviously, in the show notes. Have a look at that. Lots of names on there, including ourselves, which is lovely to see, of course. So, but loads of other people there. So have a look and maybe start following those people as well. And then lastly, I have the honor of announcing that the Tabletop Games blog Board Game Raffle in aid of the Trussell Trust, which runs UK food banks, is back. Something I'm running. I've been running monthly. Didn't run last month, but it's back now for October. Tickets are £1. There are bundles available as well, so you can buy multiple to get some free extra tickets. You can win prototypes and review copies of games, which obviously have been played but are in very good condition. This time around, we also have brand new games in there, so have a look. Obviously, all proceeds, minus any sort of platform fees and charges and things, go straight to the Trussell Trust. So have a look. There's a link in the show notes.
We'd just like to take a moment to give our patrons a little shout out. Thank you so much for continuing to support the cast and site, especially to our executive producers, Kevin Bertram, James Naylor, and Sean Newman. Thank you so much for continuing to support the cast at that level. You can join them for just $1 a month. It really helps us out with hosting and paying for software and upgrades and that kind of thing. There's various other ways to support us on the site, including merchandise from Fanroll. We'll put a link to our affiliate code in the show notes. And you can also buy things like various RPGs and that kind of thing that I report on, have links to Drive-Thru, and that gets us a little bit of money into our Drive-Thru RPG account, which I use to buy games for further review. So yeah, do go and check out those ways to support us. Thanks very much.
Please do. Yes. Now, I'm not only donning my awards hat today, in the absence of Jamie, but I'm also doing the outro. Cluedo. We all know the game, or Clue, depending what region of the world you're in. They have a new version, yet another new version, of course. The successful vampire flat-share comedy, What We Do in the Shadows, now has a Cluedo version just in time for the series coming to an end. In this reskinning, Laszlo's witch skin hat has gone missing and someone is to blame. The suspects and player pieces are the main characters from the show, and it's set in the Staten Island mansion. Players have to find out who took the hat, where they hid it, and what item they used to hide it. You can imagine how much fun it'll be. If you've been watching the TV series, I think you'll have a lot of fun. If not, just enjoy this version of Cluedo. I think that's always fun anyway.
Yeah, I mean, I imagine the hat might have hid itself because in the TV show, the hat has a sort of mind of its own and runs around a lot.
Don't give no spoilers, please.
Yeah, it's just one set of suspects, and it's just the hat. There you go. It's a very short version of Cluedo.
Anyway, thanks very much for listening. If you like what you've listened to, then the best way to help us is share the podcast and drop us a review and rating on Apple Podcasts, wherever, Spotify, wherever you're listening to this. But obviously, always sharing. Do share this with other people. Tell them how amazing this is. Even if you hate it, share the podcast because no one else will otherwise find it, because podcast discovery is absolutely awful. Of course, you can also follow me. I'm on tabletopgamesblog.com with various social media links on there as well if you want to follow me on social media. And then obviously you'll find the reviews and my other articles on there. But when it comes to the Giant Brain, have a look at the Discord link in the show notes. There's lots of discussion going on there. Chance for you to share some news as well if you want to bring that to attention. We're on Bluesky, giantbrain.co.uk, Instagram, Facebook, sort of, probably. Don't know how busy we are there.
we still post Facebook for sure. We still have a relatively large following there, so we still do post to Facebook, though we're not crazy active on there in terms of like daily posts and that kind of thing. I'm mostly on Bluesky.
And then, of course, most importantly, the website, giantbrain.co.uk. And then finally, if you want to share some news and sort of want to remain anonymous, you can email us at giantbrainuk@gmail.com. Well, that's it. Thanks very much again for listening, and we'll probably see you again in a couple of weeks.
Well, yeah, we're back in a couple of weeks' time. See you then, folks.
Bye.